So today we're diving into a really fascinating angle on early biblical history, exploring the idea that the Apostle Paul might have been connected to, or even a secret member of, the Qumran sect.
Yeah, that's wild. Secret membership and all, huh?
Absolutely. It all kicks off with the incredible discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947. A young Bedouin shepherd, get this, just tossing a rock into a cave, unleashed these texts that challenged, everything we thought we knew about biblical history.
Right. And those texts come from the Essenes, correct? That radical Jewish sect living life with extreme cleanliness and strict ritual purity?
Exactly, the Essenes, and more specifically, the Qumran community. They awaited two messiahs, practiced strict celibacy, and had this intense cosmic dualism about the battle between light and dark.
And that apocalyptic language is like right in the heart of Paul's writings too, isn't it?
Yes, totally. When Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians and even 1 Corinthians, he talks about being children of light and the imminent end of the world. It's not just poetic. It's, possibly a coded language that resonates with the Qumran community's own apocalyptic
Absolutely,
visions.
yeah. So, is the idea here that Paul's theology might actually have roots in or been influenced by Qumran beliefs?
Right, exactly. Scholars like Dr. James Tabor point out that Paul's cosmic dualism, this whole battle of flesh versus spirit and the idea of predestination, mirrors what we see in the Qumran texts. It's like both were tapping into, a kind of apocalyptic DNA.
But isn't there a sort of contrast there? I mean, the Essenes were ultra strict on the law, and Paul is widely known for justifying faith apart from works, or the law.
Yes, and that's a great point. One of the key comparisons is actually between the community rule scroll and Paul's writings, like Romans 3:28. The initiation ritual in the scrolls, tested in all their undertakings, only through the Spirit of God's truth shall a man be made clean, almost echoes Paul's idea of justification by faith.
Yeah, I see that. So it's like the core idea of being cleansed through the Spirit, rather than through strict adherence to the law, is a common thread?
Exactly. And then there's Paul's intriguing reference in Galatians 1-17 about going into Arabia, well, not the Arabian desert we picture with camels, but regions that include Qumran country. It's like a geographical hint that maybe he actually spent time amid these very traditions.
That detail about Arabia is really striking. I mean, if you think about it, Qumran was nestled in the Judean desert, right? So Paul's retreat there could indicate some, serious cross-pollination of ideas.
Right on. And then there's the explosive part. Scholar Robert Eisenman posits that the Qumran scrolls refer to a villainous figure known as the Spouter of Lies, and he draws a parallel to Paul. Essentially, he suggests that Paul, with his radical reinterpretation of the law and his conflicts with the early Jewish church, might have been seen as a traitor from the viewpoint of Qumran.
Wait, so Eisenman argues that Paul could actually be the villain in the apocalyptic drama as seen by the Qumran sect?
Yes, exactly. Imagine this. While Paul is celebrated in Christian circles, within the eyes of a Torah-loyal Essene, his revolutionary ideas, teaching against circumcision and traditional customs, could be seen as nothing short of betrayal.
That's a seriously provocative idea. But doesn't that run into some issues? Like, there are scholars such as John J. Collins who argue that the Essenes were very rigid about Torah adherence, whereas Paul championed something entirely different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. James Charlesworth, for instance, suggests that while Paul might share some apocalyptic sentiments with the Qumran community, he didn't necessarily come from them. It could be that both drank from the same, proverbial well, Second Temple Judaism, with its shared expectation of divine justice and the end times.
Right, that does make sense. So essentially, even if Paul didn't actually live within the Qumran community, he was certainly influenced by the same cultural and religious climate, right?
Precisely. Christianity didn't just spring up in isolation. Many of its core ideas, like grace, predestination, and that overarching cosmic struggle, were already being explored among various Jewish sects, including the Essenes.
Yeah, and that brings us to the, broader question. Was Paul simply a misunderstood prophet, a traitor to his own community, or a genius who saw beyond conventional interpretations of the law?
Oh, exactly. That question is at the very heart of the debate. Paul's letters exude, mystical language, talking about being caught up to the third heaven and receiving mysteries directly from Christ, which sounds like an ecstatic, almost apocalyptic experience.
Interesting. And his conflicts with other apostles like Peter and James might have been more than just personal or theological disagreements. They could represent clashes between rival apocalyptic factions.
Right, it's, like a struggle for the soul of early Judaism itself. Imagine two competing visions, one holding tightly to traditional law and temple practices, and the other breaking away, harnessing a more liberating and, say, revolutionary spiritual insight.
Absolutely, that's intriguing. But here's a respectful challenge. Isn't it a bit of an overreach to map Paul directly as the spouter of lies, especially since he also brought forth ideas that reshaped centuries of religious thought?
Sure, and that's exactly why the debate remains open. Yes, Eisenman draws that bold comparison, suggesting Paul might have been seen as a false prophet within the Qumran framework, but critics argue that Paul's authentic reinterpretation of tradition was more about evolving faith rather than deliberate betrayal.
So, in a way, we're looking at a complex interplay of influences, a shared apocalyptic context that both Paul and the Qumran Essenes inherited, yet diverged on in their interpretations.
Exactly. It's like, two branches of the same tree splitting off, each taking its own route in the evolution of early religious thought, with Paul eventually founding what became, well, mainstream Christianity.
Yeah. And this discussion really underscores how the boundaries between what we now call Judaism and Christianity were at the time much more fluid.
Yep, totally. The existence of the Dead Sea Scrolls shows us that early religious communities were, experimenting with novel ideas about grace, purity, and cosmic destiny. It wasn't a clean break, but a gradual contested transformation of belief systems.
Right, It's fascinating to think that, while mainstream Christianity later constructed a neat narrative, its roots were deeply entangled with these radical sects and their apocalyptic fervor.
Exactly. And by contemplating these connections, we don't just get a glimpse into Paul's personal journey, but into the, tumultuous environment from which Christianity emerged.
Yeah, that's really eye-opening. And just imagine the implications if Paul really was a product of that desert, apocalyptic mindset. Then his letters are, in a way, a bridge between the ancient traditions of Qumran and the new, fast-evolving world of his time.
Precisely. Every time he uses language about light, darkness, and a coming divine climax, it resonates with the imagery found in the scrolls. It's like the dusty echoes of Qumran still speak through his words.
I love that imagery. So, what's our takeaway here? That history is far more layered and interconnected than we might have thought?
Exactly. These discussions remind us that early religious thought was vibrant and multifaceted. Paul may have been a revolutionary thinker, possibly influenced by or even originating from that same apocalyptic milieu that shaped the Qumran community.
Yes. It's pretty incredible to see how these ancient ideas continue to ripple through our understanding of faith today.
Yeah, it really is. And for those who want to dive even deeper, there's more to explore, like the next big question. Was Jesus himself in some way influenced by the Dead Sea Scrolls?
That's sure to stir up more conversation. Well, that's a wrap for today. It's been an enlightening dive into the dusty scrolls and the complex figure of Paul, a journey that really challenges our modern assumptions about ancient faith.
Exactly. A fascinating exploration indeed. Thanks for sticking with it. and keep questioning the past. It might just shine a light on today.